everybody. I want to welcome you to week 2. I hope everyone had a good long weekend and was able to get caught up on all of the week 1 activities. So you should have completed everything in the week 1 folder by now and be able to access week 2. So this week we're talking about the intro to the Romantic period and William Blake. I'm going to briefly review what's due and then we'll go into the folder and take a look around. Today your Volume D intro quiz is due. And I've changed the point total. It comes out to 130. I've changed the point total to 100. So if you see something wonky in the grade book, like you have a weird number of points, don't worry about that. So that's going to be due today. Due tomorrow is all of your reading, because by Friday you will need to post your very first video response to a discussion board, and we're going to be talking about William Blake's The Sick Rose. And then by Friday you'll also need to complete the short answer quiz. And then by Sunday, and this is not normal, we normally don't have things due on weekends, but since we don't have a discussion leader this week, you guys will be posting your replies by Sunday night, and you'll reply to at least 2 of your classmates. So let's go ahead and get into the folder and take a look around. So I've given you an introduction here that you need to read over. We talk about what the Romantic period is, revolution and reactions to that period, poetries, writing in the marketplace and the law courts. Your quiz is here. I've included a link on how to read a poem. Poetry is not everybody's thing, and I will fully and freely admit that poetry is not necessarily my thing. I don't always understand it as maybe the scholars want me to understand it, but the great and wonderful thing about English, particularly poetry and literature, is unlike math and science, there's no right answer. Poetry lies a lot in the gray area. So it's a lot on how you interpret it and what the words sort of evoke in you and what you think when you read it. For folks who are into a little bit more black and white disciplines like the STEM field, or I know we have some folks doing, machinery and a lot of, work with your hands kind of things. There are a lot of rules. And in English, we have rules relating to grammar. We don't always have rules relating to how you interpret poetry. So if you click here, it's going to take you to the Writing Center at UW-Madison. And they're going to give you some basic ideas about, context and the form of it. So there are rules as far as like form and genre, sound and rhythm, that sort of thing. But how you look at, for example, word choice is totally up to you. Mood. So finally asking, so what does it do? What does it say? What is its purpose? That can totally be interpreted by you, but that's something when we look at the poems for this week, that's something that you need to be considering. So this link is going to be really handy. You may want to bookmark it for this period for when we're reading poetry. I've included a folder about Blake. There are videos that you can watch. This is a really cool, I think, visual of that poem that comes from the Library of Congress. So if we go back, your quiz is here. Our discussion video is here, and then right below it, which is not showing on my screen, down here you'll see the schedule for video discussion leaders. So starting with week 3 and then going through week 6, we've got the next 4 authors for the Romantic period, and that'll be William Wordsworth, Percy Shelley, John Keats, and Lord Byron. And so Zoe, Rosie, and Anahi are going to be our leaders for the next few weeks. So all of that said, your discussion video link is here. I've given you directions with your initial video and some ideas of, things that you can talk about. You don't have to address every one of these. I will say that Flip only allows you 10 minutes, which you may have discovered in your intro video. Which, by the way, I really enjoyed meeting everybody. It was cool to see those of you who came on camera and to hear your voices and get to know you. So thank you for doing that. So these are some ideas of what you could talk about. And in here, if you look at your initial response requirements, you could certainly ask questions or talk about observations that you noticed, because you're going to have to reply to your classmates, and it's a little bit difficult if no one asks a question to reply to somebody. Like, where do you pick up? Where do you start if nobody asks a question? Say maybe you read a poem and you don't really understand it. Then I think it's a perfect opportunity for you to say, okay, I thought it meant this. What do you all think? Here's some themes that I noticed, but, can someone tell me maybe what they found or interpreted from that? So looking at the poem structure, the rhyme scheme, the meter, these are all things you can talk about. You could talk about the themes. Connecting themes to the historical and cultural context of the Romantic period. You could talk about how Blake's personal background and beliefs might have influenced the poem. Could there be any autobiographical elements in the poem, or maybe not? What were the historic events or cultural movements that might have had an impact? If you think about poets in modern times, in our current life, think about the current, climate of the world. Some of the current poet laureates and people who are award winners often are talking about things that are going on in our time. We have war in Ukraine. We have the Israel-Palestine conflict, and all of these things that are going on are influencing people, how they write, how they think. So political landscapes, the environment, all kinds of things. So think about that in terms of what's going on now, and then see if you can transfer that line of thinking to this period that we're talking about now, which of course is the Romantic era. So then, of course, you can compare The Sick Rose to another work that we read this week, because you do have several poems that you do need to read. So that's looking at that. And that's about all that we have to do this week. Again, you'll need to reply to folks by Sunday night. So if you have any questions, let me know. Shoot me an email. Hopefully everyone's gotten their textbook by now. If you haven't, let me know, and we can talk about ways to see if we can speed that up. So anyway, great job on the first week. I'm thrilled that we have this wonderful group of 9 folks. If you count me, I make 10. So we've got a small and fun group this semester. I'm looking forward to it, and y'all just let me know if you have any questions. So let's get going with week 2.